Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jenna, and I'm on the marketing team here at CBT Nuggets, and I am so excited to kick off our first webinar of 2026. Just going to hit some quick housekeeping items as we give everyone a chance to get logged in. Mics will be automatically muted for the presentation, but if you have questions, you can ask via the chat or the questions function. We'll do our best to get to as many of them as possible. And the webinar recording will be available within 24 hours and will be sent out with the email that you used to register. So let me introduce our presenters for today. First off, we have Matt Walton. He is CBT Nuggets Learning Content Manager who works directly with all of our absolutely incredible IT trainers, including Keith Barker. He's joining us today from CBT Nuggets headquarters in Eugene, Oregon. And if you're already familiar with CBT Nuggets, our next co-host needs no introduction. Keith Barker is a longtime CBT Nuggets trainer who began his IT career in 1985, making him truly the OG of IT, as he's known to his followers on YouTube. And with all that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Matt.
Hey, thanks, Jenna, and thanks to everybody for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Matt Walton, and like Jenna said, I get to work with our fabulous trainers here at CBT Nuggets. I've worked here for about 5 years, which means for about 5 years, I've got to bother Keith Barker anytime I have a question if there's a problem with my Wi-Fi at home. So I'd say that's a pretty nice perk.
Has it been 5 years? It just seems like 60 months. Yeah.
Almost, yeah. Keith, I'm really excited about this presentation that you're going to be doing. It's a good time to kind of kick the year off right. We're talking about kind of building momentum for folks' training and learning journeys as we kick off the new year. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I'm ready. I brought some props. I always love good props. So I get these in focus here. So if you're wondering, what the heck does that have to do with training and, moving forward, stay tuned. That will all be revealed. So I'm excited to be here. A lot of the training we do is in a studio like this one, but like edited and finally delivered. So a chance to actually interact and just like put it all out there. It's fantastic. Also, people often hear what they want to hear. And hopefully some people in the audience, or if you're listening to this recorded, hopefully you want to hear something, a tidbit or two about how you can, in measurable terms, make a difference and improve some things, including training in 2026. So long story short, too late. I'm excited to be here. Thanks, Matt.
So what I heard you just say was that I'm going to get a raise.
Yeah, talk to the powers that be.
That's what I want to hear. I'm just kidding. All right, Keith. Well, I will be sitting in the background, folks, watching your questions. Like Jen had mentioned, if you do have questions for Keith, use that questions tab at the top right of your screen. It's the one with a question mark in kind of a chat box, that third icon from the right. And we'll be keeping an eye on those and try to get to as many of those as we can. I know some of you already shared some via socials, and we'll do our best to get to all of those. Anyway, I'll step out of the way and let the man himself take over.
All right. Thanks, Matt. So when Jenna said, he started his IT career at 85, that makes him, and I thought, is the word old? Don't say old. Don't say old. But I am 61 as of this recording. But the key is to staying young at heart, I think, is continual and perpetual learning new things, seeing new things. Oftentimes, too, I'll get a call or a contact from somebody saying, yeah, I need to get this certification or that certification, or how in the world did you get a couple CCIEs? And the answer is one day at a time. One of the challenges with, getting good at anything, and about a few years ago, I bought a ukulele, not a nice one, just like $100, included the tuner and everything else. And I wanted to learn ukulele. And it took about 20 hours before I could just start really feeling comfortable with it and learning that skill. And that first, 20 hours of anything is sometimes some of those challenging. And then once you get better at it, it becomes more fun and more fun. And so what I've discovered is this. Here's a hard truth. If we're cooking dinner, whether it's on a grill or in an oven, and the recipe calls for cooking this thing for so many minutes at a certain temperature, let's say, 2 hours at 200 degrees, you can't change that and do 400 degrees for half the time or 800 degrees for a quarter of the time. It just doesn't work that way. It's like I can't tell you how many times I've had the thought, boy, I want to be an expert on this by Friday. Or it's very similar to saying I want to lose 20 pounds by Friday, or I need to study 20 hours by Friday. That's not setting ourselves up for success. So I'm going to share with you 3 basic things you can take away and start using immediately. The first, as far as improving the trajectory, is making learning small. So I do this in my life all the time about lots of things, because like somebody asked me about, I get asked all the time about CCI, a Cisco Certified Internet Network Expert, and how do you get that done? Well, you don't do it by studying 12 hours a day for 5 months and getting ready for it. You carve out an hour here, an hour there, and you do that for 8 or 9 months, and that can get you, in the direction. So that's the first takeaway, and there'll be a test later. Make learning small. 15 minutes, and our skills that we have, our sets of videos, we can just grab like 1 or 2 of them. And it's, first of all, having a reasonable challenge. This also applies to exercise or eating or anything else. Just, make your goal measurable and small and accomplishable, so it doesn't seem like a mountain. So here's an example. I'm going to give you a peek, whether you want it or not, into my brain. So I wanted to improve myself. This started like, maybe October of last year. And I wanted to work on the new version of myself. I call it Keith 4.0. And this is about you, not about me, but I want to show you an example of how I'm using small, measurable chunks. And so here, so it's a cold plunge optional, 12 minutes of cardio. Anybody can do 12 minutes. It's like that's 3 songs if you're listening to music, and then some strength training, just a little bit. And if I want to do more, I can. I don't have to, but it's small and measurable. And the secret is momentum, just continuously doing it. And same with training or anything else. So if we say, I need to, I can't cold plunge for an hour, I'd die. So just small, measurable chunks. Now, the next challenge is this. If we're working in small chunks, with it, whatever it is, learning, mastering a new skill, improving our situation, human nature needs to see improvement. Like if I just keep doing the same thing, or we keep doing the same thing all the time, and we don't see us getting closer to our goals or closer to where we want to be, that's a problem. So the second step, besides having our goals in small chunks, make them manageable so we can actually do them without too much effort, the second major step is to make that progress visible. Make it visible that you're doing the thing you want to do. Now, that's going to depend if you're at a company and you are a manager, or you're at a company and you're an individual, or you're a human on your own. A strategy to make the progress visible. Now, there's a couple options about how to do this. One is, let's say we're managing some people, or we have a team of people that we lead and we're working with. One option is to just make a decision arbitrarily. This is what we're going to do to make the progress visible. However, that's not the best option. The best option is to chat with the teams that you're working with and ask them individually, what would it look like if we made your progress visible? Is it a calendar where you put a check there and you put it in your cube or your office? Is it some kind of an online thing that we track? So I would ask the question, what would be what's usable to make it visible? And then that helps everybody accountable, make it fun too. So I'm also going to share with you what I did. This is literally right outside my studio. My studio is right off the garage. When I work out of the garage. And on the left is a whole bunch of rocks that are polished or an inch wide. And then I have some steel balls to the right of that. And then on the far right, if you'll notice that one, it is the bucket of what I'm doing. So for various goals I have, one of them being exercise, 12 minutes of cardio and a little strength training. That's respective. That I put a token. I call these tokens. I move a token from one to the other. So on the 2 on the left is the supply, and the one on the right is the results. And this was taken about a week ago. I took this picture. So that was like the first week of January of this year. And then at the end of the month, I move them out. So you might ask the question, Keith, why do you have some rock tokens on the left and some of the stainless steel ones on the right? And the answer is because some days it's harder to do the thing, like a cold plunge. Like when it's cold outside or I'm not feeling it, I don't want to do it. And if it's study, like, okay, we're going to study for 15 minutes a day at this time, and you don't want to do it, here's what I think to myself. if I do it today, I'm giving myself a stinking steel ball because that was hard. And it's just visual. So if you look at my, let me get a pen out here and talk with my hand. If we look at this one over here, let me change the color, make them more visible. I have, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 metal balls there. And that was 4 days that I did not, or 4 events that I did not want to do. It's like, oh, I don't want to do it, but I did it. And so as a result, this is a visual reminder. Now, the other thing I was going to do, and I changed my mind on it, I was going to take all these and then every month put them in a huge jar right in the kitchen where I could see it. And I am married to a wonderful partner who said it's a terrible idea. You don't want to have a jar with 200, 300 balls in it sitting in the kitchen. So every month I just reset it and I go back, and that way I can see not what I've done mostly, but actually who I'm becoming. I'm a person who follows through. I'm a person, and these steel balls confirm it right here. I can do the thing, and you can too. And so the secret is make the goal, the task, make it small, set a time to do it, and then reward the actual doing of the task and make it visible so everybody can go ahead and see it. And again, the visibility is going to mean different things to different people. So find out what visibility means to you and verify that it works. Also, one other trick I use is if we're working with an individual, like this really works for me, the balls do. But if you ask a person that you work with, okay, what can we do to help make this training visible, that you're doing the thing, you're doing the 15 minutes a day, and ask them, what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it smell like? What would it sound like? Really get them into that space, and then go ahead and have them use it. And you may have a team of 10 people and they may all choose different things, but the idea is to make it visible. And then the third thing, which is really important too, is we want to reward repetition. Don't reward, hey, I've mastered, let's say Wireshark, or I've mastered next generation firewalls, or I've mastered blah, blah, blah. What we want to reward is we want to reward the actual doing the thing, becoming the person who studies 15 minutes a day or whatever that time works for you. And also, here's what I've discovered. People, myself included, get excited when they're learning something new. Neurons, they work better. Dopamine is more present. It's literally true. And so if they're studying, then we can go ahead and, just the excitement of the team and the people who are working with whether they're learning, that's going to spill over. And, one idea could be that you have some kind of a meeting like once a month or once a week. If it's not long, we'll make it easy, make it fun, bring some food, and then maybe have people mention one thing that they're excited about if they want to, that they're studying. Because I remember I was at Paramount Pictures for a while and I got promoted to a manager position. And I remember some of the techs with new things they were learning. And that's when I decided I don't want to be in management. I want to be in the tech world because I love knowing the tech, whatever it is I'm studying, whether it's virtualization or security, or whether it's, whatever the technology I may be studying. Okay, so here is a summary of the 3 key elements for your 2026 playbook. And this, you might be thinking, Keith, I don't manage a team. I don't manage a team. I'm just in charge of myself. Great. Do it for yourself. I remember back in the day, I heard somebody mention that every human should invest 3% of their gross income, not net, gross, in their own self-improvement, regardless of what the company's going to do for you, et cetera, et cetera. And I've lived by that. And I don't actually literally track it. That's 3%. No, stop. But I'm not afraid of saying, you know what, this is going to be good for my long-term longevity, whether it's health or study or whatever it happens to be. So I just, I set that up and I do it. So again, it doesn't have to be managing people. You can do it for yourself as well. And here's the 3 things. Shrink the training that you want to do to small chunks. Now, sometimes, especially if a person is in a manic phase, like not diagnosable, but like super excited, they may want to go longer. But if you have a habit of setting it up to 15 minutes, a certain time, what we're going to study, make the progress visible. I use the tokens, those balls. You can use whatever method you want. Also make sure your team feels supported. And then reward consistency, again, not rewarding being a master at next generation firewalls or being a master at virtualization or being a master at cybersecurity, but rather reward the consistency that they did the thing over and over and over again. Because just like strength training or building endurance or learning a new skill, it's really not about, putting in the food at 800 degrees for a half hour. It's more like a slow burn. And going back to my CCNA, back when I got the first one in 2001, oh my gosh, so long ago, I spent 8 months, but I chopped it up into a certain number of hours a day, 5 days a week, over 8 months. And during that time, because I didn't try to cram it all at the very end, I had some miraculous things happen. I had some really bad things happen, but also when it came time to, put the pedal to the metal, I was able to do a whole bunch of things, not because I crammed the day before or the week before or the month before, but because I had consistently become a person who studies. And that made all the difference, and it'll make the difference for you as well. So what I'd like you to do also is think to yourself, and maybe even you want to put in the comments, regarding these three elements, what could you do for either for yourself or as a company with your teams to make progress visible? Like, what would be one thing that would work for you in that case? And what would be an idea to reward consistency? Because those factors are going to be the key in building the momentum and keeping it, because it's the tortoise and the hare, that story all over again. The tortoise is slow and steady, and it wins the race. And even though sometimes it doesn't feel good to be a tortoise, as I'm studying, I'm rejuvenated. I'm learning something new. I'm remembering or seeing things in a different light and becoming better and better. And also, as far as what to study, people say, well, what should I study? If you work for a company and they have some technology at your company, maybe it's a customer management system, maybe it's next generation firewalls, maybe it's whatever it happens to be, become an expert at it, get good at it, and do it on your own time. Meaning spend 15 minutes a day, map it out, and be consistent in learning that thing. Because if you have that thing at your company, whether it's firewalls or a software system or what have you, and you become an expert, something is going to happen. And that is you are going to, your overall outlook is going to be happier at the company, which is quite valuable. Secondly, you're going to be worth more to your company. And third, if a company can't, support that individual, the reality is if you're building those skills, it's very likely you could use them somewhere else, and you just keep on going and keep on going. All right, so that is my presentation of the three basic things that we can do as a 2026 playbook to improve and get to where you want to be. Again, it's about consistency, becoming the person who studies or becoming the person who does the thing. And we can do that by making it visible and then rewarding the consistency. And you might think, well, Keith, what is your reward here? For example, with these balls, what's the reward? It is fun for me to see that bucket on the right fill up. It reminds me of, I'm happy looking at a static slide of it. I'm like, yeah, I did that. And some of those things were really hard, and that's who I'm becoming. That's who I am, a person who does the thing, whether it's study or whatever else you want to pursue. All right, so having said that, let me go ahead and bring back in Matt, and I'll also go ahead and jump in on camera. And we wanted to have an opportunity to take some questions, and I'm going to be focused here at the audience. And so, Matt, if you'd join me and maybe dialogue any questions that came up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, Keith, thanks. That was really helpful, both kind of how you approach IT training, but then tying it into, your personal goals. And, that 3% piece really stuck with me because, sometimes like the gym membership or the food that is maybe a little higher quality, I'm just like, do I really need it? But investing in yourself that's going to stick with me. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh, awesome.
All right. Well, we got a good few questions. When you have some more coming in, we did have a number on socials. So thanks for sticking around, folks, as we get to Q&A. And if you want to ask any questions, again, just use that questions tab in the top right of your screen with the question mark in the chat box. All right. Well, let's get to it. I'm going to jump in front of the line here. Keith, you are not just training on Cisco. I mean, you're training on all sorts of stuff. And last year, you made a number of different courses. What was your favorite piece of technology that you created a course on last year? And I know this is hard for you to answer because I know there's a few that you're excited about.
Yeah, it's a toss-up. So part of the secret when I train is I think, how do I make the course, the training, the skills, how do I make those that if I was learning this for the first time, I wish somebody had made for me. It's basically with that mentality. So I would say probably the most interesting, without saying the others aren't interesting, it was the Wireshark course, because I've been using Wireshark for, well, it was called something else 30 years ago, but I've been using the technology of Wireshark for 30 years. And okay, confession, I was like a monkey with a hammer. I could get some stuff done with it. I could look at the basics, but as far as like really using it to troubleshoot or to understand the protocols, or I only used it like a monkey with a hammer. And so this course that I was able to create with another co-trainer, Lalo, that gave me the opportunity to really learn it. Now, here's the message to myself. Keith, if you'd taken 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, 20 years ago to study that and get really good at it back then, my whole life would be different. Now, not like drastically different, but it'd be way, way better because I have more tools, like a Batman utility belt. So I'd say the most exciting technology that I trained on in 2025 was and is Wireshark, because it was the most uplifting for me as far as finally really mastering it.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And that course I did share in the chat. I linked to that specific course in chat. That was created with Lalo Nunez, and Keith and Lalo, along with Jeff Kish and John McGovern, are all going to be at Cisco Live in Amsterdam next month. That's from February 9th through 12th. We'll be doing some meet and greets. So if you are going to be at Cisco Live next month, we would love to meet you in person. All right. Well, we got a lot more questions to get to, so let's jump in.
All right.
This first question from the chat is from Asim from Sudan. And Asim says, I obtained my CCNA in 2025. Is that enough to specialize in network security and start pursuing specialized certs like NSE4 or PCNSA?
Great question. Let me do a brief thought dump on my perspective regarding certifications. There is so much to learn out there. And the blessing of certifications, it lets us narrow our focus on a certain quantity, whether it's Network Plus or CCNA and so forth. So if a person has learned CCNA, and I always encourage learners, don't learn it just to pass the exam, learn it to learn it. So if a person knows the content in the CCNA, they've demonstrated that by passing the exam, that is enough of a fundamental knowledge to then start moving on. So if you wanted to go in the Cisco route, the next logical progression would be CCNP and then CCIE, perhaps you want to go that deep. But as far as like, I'm going to get into cybersecurity, or I want to get into virtualization or something else, understanding the basics of networking that CCNA provides is a fantastic start, a platform for that. So I'd say yes, especially if it's interesting. If it's interesting to you, that is like 80% of the magic about chasing after and going after and getting good at something. The other thing is get good at something that is marketable. For example, if I wanted to start studying GroupWise, now for those of you who are under 40, GroupWise was an email system from Novell, like, decades and decades ago. Nobody uses GroupWise, or if they do, they don't want to talk about it. So, study on something that would be interesting to you and also valuable. And then whenever you can, do the hands-on. And hands-on these days is a lot easier. Many of our courses have hands-on labs built into them that are custom created by the trainers, which are fantastic, both the trainers and the labs, I should add. But also get hands-on practice, because that's going to help reinforce those concepts as well. So I know the question was, what was your favorite tech? Wireshark 2025. Thanks.
Thanks, Keith. So, yeah, to circle back to the question, you get your CCNA, and then am I ready to specialize? Well, chase what is marketable and what you're interested in. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah, and I loop back to the original question. Thank you, Matt, for keeping me on track. But yes, yeah, a CCNA is a great foundation for moving forward. Also, these days, people care more about what you can do, employers, that is, rather than what certs you have. The certs may help get you into an interview. They may help demonstrate a minimum knowledge, but actually having the ability to demonstrate XYZ is the secret sauce, and the best way to get there is through practice. Thanks, Matt.
No problem. We had a question from Fatma, who says, as a network engineer, things are getting out of hand for me because there's traditional networking, then there's automation, so many other technologies and vendors. They're asking, what should I focus on, especially keeping in mind with AI emerging? Now, you had just talked about, chase the things that'll make you marketable or that you're interested in, but it is kind of wild out there. I mean, there's so many different specializations.
Yep, the wild frontier. And even with next generation firewalls, like from Fortinet, Cisco, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, etc., that whole world is changing because AI agents running inside your company, if they get compromised and they start doing malicious things, you also have to start tracking that as well internally and have your stuff more aware of it. So I'm going to go back to advice I received a long time ago. Things are changing radically. And what I would do is talk to somebody, like if you're at work and there's somebody in your sphere at work who is more experienced than you, maybe a senior level tech or somebody at the next tier up or 2 tiers up, I would, if you're not friends with them, I would build a friendship with those type of people, maybe buy them lunch, or if they don't eat lunch, offer to take them on a coffee, whatever it is, and pick their brain about what they would recommend. Like in the field right now, what are their thoughts? Because that's what got me into networking back in the 80s. Dave, I was a network technician. I was a PC technician back in the day. Yeah, PCs were around then in the 80s. And there's Dave Nelson, who was like the network guy. There's like coax cable and Novell networking, and then it got into token ring, and then finally Ethernet and so forth. But I was like, what is it you do, and what do you recommend? And that's when he told me I would recommend XYZ, and that's what I do now. So as far as if I was 20 now, and what would I do? I would get my foundation in place, because certain network protocols do not change. It doesn't matter if it's on-prem, in your office, in the cloud, things like ARP and things like DHCP, things like DNS, things like HTTPS with behind the scenes SSL, old school, or TLS, more likely transport layer security. I get those fundamentals like in your pocket, and then I would take a look at what's interesting to me and what's also viable. I'm thinking back to George Jetson. George Jetson is a cartoon character from the 70s or 80s, and he had a job at Spacely Sprockets. I don't know, I remember this as well as I do. It's kind of sad. Anyway, his job was to push the button. Everything was automated. He pushes the button. That's not how life is ever going to be here on this planet, because when we have systems in place, even those that are automated, there's going to be issues that happen, and so we have to troubleshoot those. And a lot of troubleshooting goes down to the fundamentals, connectivity and basic IP addressing and connectivity there. And then with automation, it wouldn't hurt to know APIs. It wouldn't hurt to know JSON and Python and some other things. It wouldn't hurt to know how to generate AI prompts. One thing I've discovered there is that, just like asking an employee, how would we make this behavior, the training, visible to you, so that you can see your progress as you do it? You want to get their feedback. Just like that with AI, instead of trying to write a prompt, I'll ask it. It's like, if I wanted if I wanted it to go ahead and do XYZ, what would be the prompt that you would create that would cause that behavior? And then I look at that prompt and I save it. So as far as AI becoming aware of how AI works and its limitations, also as we get more and more automated, when things break, that's when they call in the experts. I know people who are CCIEs that get paid a lot of money to do rack and stack, like in a data center, rack and stack switches and devices, running scripts and so forth that are written by somebody else. And I'm like, how come they're paying you so much to do rack and stack? Anybody could do that if they have a jacket, and gloves and follow the instructions. And they told me it's not because they need the CCIE level for the rack and stack. It's because when something doesn't go right, they need the expertise to sort out what the heck happened and how to correct it. So that's when the value is going to come in, as far as the knowledge you have, the experience you have, and the ability to solve problems. And what I've also discovered is in my own career, my future doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. I just kept on, I had some goals, and I kept on, learning and studying and practicing, but I don't know what direction life is going to take for, the world as it changes. But I do know this: if you're engaged and you're excited about learning, you have a habit of learning, you can just angle that learning to whatever it is you need to learn to be happy and to be valuable to your company and to be able to get stuff done. So hopefully I answered that question, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith. We're getting a lot of questions here. And again, folks, we'll try to get to as many as we can. I doubt we'll be able to get to all of them. But I believe I heard Jenna say that we'll do our very best to answer those and get back to you, whether that's via email or Jenna. I don't know if you can pop in and clarify that. I might just be speaking out of school. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Jenna.
And I work for a tech company. I'm so sorry, y'all. We absolutely will be getting back to everyone. Any questions that we aren't able to get to, we will do our best to get back to you directly via email. And it will be the email that you use to register for the event. And you will be seeing that from Team CBT Nuggets or from marketing at CBT Nuggets. So do be on the lookout for that.
Cool. Well, thank you for popping in. We still have about 10 minutes, so we still got a lot of great stuff for you, but just wanted to let you know in case your question wasn't selected. It's not because it's not a great question, just we don't have enough time. Keith is a very busy man. This next question is from James Vaughn, who manages a 5-person IT and network engineering team. And James says, what is the best way to help my very new team stay motivated in an overwhelming environment and keep them excited to continue the learning? So we're talking about a really new team that I think a earlier question said, there's so much out there. So
right.
I got a brand new team. My name's James. How do I keep that new team motivated?
Awesome. First, I would line it, if I was in charge of the team, James, or let's imagine, James, you and I are team leads just for a moment, for like a minute here, and we have these individuals, we got to keep them motivated and going. It'd be wise for us to identify, based on what they need and what would benefit them the most, what training they should have. Because you might have some people that are really great at this, but not that. So maybe you and I sit down and we lay out, okay, here's the training that we would recommend, and then make it small and measurable, small chunks. What I've discovered is super helpful is teaching other people. So if you had I know people don't like a lot of meetings, but if you had like a 15-minute meeting, maybe once a month or once a week, just a short stand-up meeting. Now, I like stand-up meetings where you go in and you don't sit down, nobody sits. And that makes it short. People are on point. You're not, and in a stand-up meeting, you just say, we're going to spend this 15 minutes talking just briefly about what's exciting about what you're learning, if anything. And if it's not, you don't have to speak. But what I've discovered is that sometimes, like, there's competition, there's the carrot and the stick. And so they're both important, I think. So as far as a team meeting, talking about what people are learning, if some individual says, oh man, I just learned about this technology, and there's like drool coming down, which happens to me occasionally. So anyway, if they're excited about it, that can spark interest in the other team members about, wow, this guy's really moving forward with his learning. Also, as that individual, if you ask him to spend 2 minutes teaching the high level concept, just high level, that also helps reinforce in that person that topic. So I would say have a little guidance on what they should be studying based on what's important for your organization, for your company, and then make it visible in whatever way that works for you. Like, for example, and as I would ask people your own schedule, like if you were going to spend 15 minutes a day, like focusing on study, when would that be? What time of the day? Because it could be different for different people in the team. And then I'd also, so ask them when would be good for it. And then also have them identify the next day what they're going to study. That helps me as well. So if I'm studying something, before I turn off my computer, close the browser, etc., I'll also make a note like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to continue on here. And that plants the seed inside my head as far as what I'm going to be studying, even if it's 15 minutes, what the topic is. So that afternoon, that evening, while I'm sleeping, my brain can think about that next topic. And when I hit it for 15 minutes. I learn, and I do the same thing. So keeping the team motivated, I would guide them towards content that would be beneficial to them. 2, make it visible for whatever the learner, each of your team members want to see. Don't make it rough. Like, don't say, oh, you got to do this. Say, what would it look like for you? Maybe it's jars, maybe it's, marbles or, tokens or something else to make it visible, and then reward the success of not mastering content, but of the repetition. And those 3 things, what I've discovered in teams is that sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, to themselves and myself, I'll put myself there. Oh my gosh, I'm not learning as much as I really should. I better kick it up a notch. And no stick too much in the meetings, but just motivation. Sure. I used to make plaques too for my team. Once a month I would have an engraved plaque regarding, excellent performance for this or that and the other. And I would present those. Everybody wanted a plaque.
Cool.
Yeah. And I didn't just do them like a, participation award, Matt. It was meaningful.
Yeah.
And that was James with his team of 5. That's what I'd recommend doing, James. And one last thing, empathy is so important. If I have a manager, which I currently do, who cares about me, who says, I want to see you improve, I want to see you grow, I want to help you in your household, gain your skills and better yourself for yourself, the employees will see that, the team will see that. And that will also help feed the excitement, learning something new, progressing in the direction that they want to go.
I love it. That's fantastic. Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
One limiting factor for managers and teams is budgets. We got an email from Shannon to ask about some strategies on getting buy-in from higher ups. Shannon says, I manage a small team in a mom and pop shop. We don't have some of the structured support for learning and growth that we'd get at a larger corporation. While we're able to reimburse cert exams, training is out of pocket. How should I go about asking for budget when the owners and the high ups say that they don't want to spend on anything not directly related to the bottom line? So kind of away from motivation, more about like budget strategies. Like how does a manager sort of carve out a little more resources for their team is what I'm reading there.
Gotcha. There are a lot of motivators a lot of things that affect the bottom line in a company. I remember being at a company once where the CEO, I won't tell you the company name. It's not CBT, somebody else. The major mantra of the C-level team was drive revenue. In reality, training and educating our employees is going to improve that bottom line, but sometimes there may not be as provable. So I think I always like asking an expert when I have one in the room. So Matt, you are a manager at CBT Nuggets. I report to you. Let's imagine we were at a different company that didn't believe in, any expenses that didn't directly tie to the bottom line.
Sure.
What would your strategy be to help educate and enlighten the C-level and the executives that that's a good idea?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I've spent most of my career talking to higher ups and sort of pitching ways to help empower my team. I think, if to answer this question, I would say, I get that the higher ups and the CEOs and the C-suite, they are about the bottom line because that's at the end of the day, that's how we all stay employed. For me, training and it's like a proactive preventative step, right? If you think about healthcare, I don't want to wait until we need to run around and go, oh, dang, we didn't anticipate this, and now we need to spend a bunch of money. The more educated and the more empowered that your team is, the fewer of those things that are going to pop up. So here at CBT, again, we're very, very lucky to have a C-suite and ownership that supports education. We all get half an hour a day to train. And somebody did ask a question. They said, 15 minutes feels a little short. Is it a little short? I think Keith's point was start small and be consistent. Anybody can do 15 minutes a day. If you can carve out 30 minutes a day, great. But not all teams can do that. As far as a budget perspective goes, if I'm going to a manager or a higher up in our pretend company, I'm going to try to come with facts and talk about kind of being proactive and preventative. This will make us more money in the future. You want to empower your people at the end of the day. You want people to feel like you're investing in them. And I think bringing it back to that is the stronger our people are, the smarter our people are, the more certifications our people have, the better our team is. And we want them to feel like we're investing in their growth, just like they're investing in our growth as a company. So
awesome. I have one other thought on that, if I could add it.
Yeah.
I saw a study many years ago where it talked about motivation for employees, and something like a monetary raise, more cash, more money for the same job or for increased responsibilities, was motivational for like less than 2 weeks for that individual. And then it was back to the standard motivation, what they had previous. So money itself isn't keeping people. Now you could have a situation where the money is too low and people have to leave because of financial reasons. But as far as keeping people motivated, if they have training where they feel like they're seeing progress and the company is endorsing that, that can also help reduce turnover. And turnover is super expensive, and especially in tech, because when somebody leaves, somebody's got to lock all that stuff down, and there's risks involved. You have to hire somebody else. I don't know if it's 20,000, 40,000, some quantity, bottom line, of money that's spent by HR and stuff to onboard a new person. So if you feel like spending some money on training is going to be helpful and motivating, and also building skills, as you mentioned, but also helping the employees feel valued and that the company's interested in them and they want to stay longer, that also could be tied to the bottom line, perhaps. So that's another. I'd also look at outside contractors that you have to bring in, what cost, and maybe we could curb off some of that if we had more internal training. Although I wouldn't want to put that pressure on my staff, like, you need to become an expert in 2 weeks on this, because that defeats the purpose of the momentum.
Absolutely. Well, it's a really great question, and thank you for sending it in. I just shared a short PDF doc, just 6 pages, titled "The Real Cost of Bad IT Training" in chat, folks. So if you want to just click into, on the top right of your screen, the chat section right by the question section, it's that most recent link there. So go ahead and save that. Here's your short answer. Check that out and forward it to your boss and say, we don't want to waste all this money, do we? Come on, let's do it right the first time. So we've got time for one more question. Again, thank you everybody for coming. And if you are going to be at Cisco Live in Amsterdam, February 9th through 12th, keep an eye on our socials. We will be doing multiple meet and greets there. We'd love to meet you in person. We're gonna end on an inspiring note. What advice would you like to leave folks with as we move forward for this new year? Individuals, managers, however you want to close here, Keith.
I would say, be nice to 3 people. 1, yourself. 2, everybody you work with. And 3, everybody else you don't work with. A lesson I learned the hard way many decades ago was that you never know when you're going to see people again or work with them, or that person could be your boss. It pays to be polite. Now, I know the world's in turmoil for a lot of people and a lot of things are happening. But when it comes down to human interaction with everybody, yourself, be kind. Just think, like, before you say something to somebody else, whether it's at work, at home, at school, or on the workplace, or whether it's online even, think to yourself, would I want somebody to tell me that? Or how would I feel if I received that? Just for a moment before you say it. Because I think as things get more AI-ish, one of the biggest factors that's going to help carry us through and make us successful is people skills and being kind to people. And so I try to do that. I'm not always the best. I'm a pretty kind person in general. But even when I have people I don't agree with, or I think they're wrong about something, I really want to understand where they're coming from, not just so I can understand it and, you know, get a stick out and hit them, but I want to just understand. I treat everybody like a book, like a novel, and they have a whole big history of all these things that happened. And I won't unravel the novel in like one meeting with the person, but I'm always curious. And also, you know, if somebody tells you their feedback on something, their idea, you know, say thank you for sharing that. And if it's a technical thing and they've got it wrong, you can just ask a question like, well, what about this, you know, on a technical issue, and train as you go. The other thing is, if you train other people on what you're learning, you get the benefit. It's for you. It's like, as a trainer, a lot of people watch my content, but I really benefit the most. Like when I go back and visit X, Y, and Z, I'm learning the most because I'm teaching it. So I would also encourage you, as you're learning new things, especially in a team, if it's relevant for the whole team, as the water rises, as the tide rises, all boats rise. So if you can share that training with other people on your team in an authentic way, just realize that it's going to benefit you the most. So that would be my takeaway. Be kind to everybody and share what you know with others, because that's probably going to be one of the most important skills that we have as humans going forward.
Yeah, whether you're a manager or an individual contributor on a team, at the end of the day, we're all kind of working with other folks, whether the contractors or in-house. So yeah, thanks, Keith. I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
How's everybody out there feeling? We really appreciate you joining us. Very few people dropped off. So, I mean, you get to hear Keith hype you up for your 2026. That's a good day. We really, really appreciate everybody for joining us. And sorry we couldn't get to all your questions, but like Jenna was saying earlier, if you shared a question in chat, we'll get back to you via email. Keith, it was a pleasure doing this with you today.
Ditto. Thanks. Let's do it again sometime, huh?
I'm in.
Thank you guys so much for your time, for your expertise, for your moderation. We appreciate all of it. Everyone, thank you so much for joining, and absolutely keep an eye out for that recording and keep your eye out for more CBT Nuggets webinars. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.